The airport says contractors put the public and employees at risk during the renovations there. DIA says an outside safety audit they ordered proves that. The project is already years behind schedule and it's over budget, and each day things get nastier between the airport and its contractors, Great Hall Partners. 9 News reporter Jordan Chavez reviewed this audit, which in part says the developers are putting employees and the public at risk of severe injury.
The report focuses on 4 areas described as hazards, showing photos of where construction workers could fall, including incomplete guardrails, holes in scaffolding, and missing toe boards. Where passengers were at risk, the auditor noted areas where there was nothing to protect them from falling debris and showed where people using escalators were too close to loose bits of concrete. There's the risk of electrocution. The auditor also cited at least 6 examples, including wires dangling from the ceiling and a temporary electrical panel that hadn't been inspected within 30 days. And then there's the improper cleanup and maintenance, which the auditor referred to as poor and unsafe. He found an eye wash station he says was empty and unsanitary. He also cited at least 11 examples of other issues like this spot that had no barrier wall to keep people from wandering into construction zones. While Great Hall Partners has suggested DIA safety concerns were unfounded and just a ploy to get out of the contract, this auditor concludes the project just isn't meeting standards.
DIA says after this audit, they asked the developers to have all safety hazards fixed by yesterday. The airport says that still hasn't happened. We reached out to a representative for Great Hall Partners for comment, but haven't heard back just yet. Kyle.
As this continues back and forth in public and just every day it seems to deteriorate, the relationship does.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much.